Danny, I'm going to make you the presenter now. Looking forward to hearing your voice and having a conversation with you. And we're two floor guys from the other side of the pond. Hi, Danny.
How are you?
Good. Great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, very nice to meet you. Thank you so much for taking some time out. And okay, I know you want to talk a little bit about crypto. I'd like to start with, you told me you spent some time on the life floor.
We don't have to talk crypto, Dale. It's
okay. It's okay.
Stylianos did such a stellar job explaining his opinion on Ethereum at the moment that I thought.
Oh yeah, we have a dream team. So Danny, anyway, Danny, tell us how you got to the life. How did that happen?
So to put it very simply, I was not a very good student in school, and I guess my problem was generally with authority. I didn't really like being told what to do, and that kind of started at quite a young age. So I left school under a bit of a cloud of a bit of a dark cloud, let's say, and I was not particularly qualified to do much when leaving. That wasn't because I was stupid, it was just simply because I didn't really like the educational system. It didn't really sit right with me. So I was working in retail, and designer menswear was the area that I was positioned in from the back end of school into my late teens. And I guess I always had a bit of hustle about me in that sense, and that was why I was pretty good at upselling when on the shop floor. A lot of the money that we made in that environment was commission based, so you had to hit targets, you had to sell a lot of clothes. And
did they ever use this expression, which, you know, we've all done things. I mean, I sold cars for a while I was a commodity broker, and they had an expression, B-backs are not greenbacks. So you had to learn how to be a closer.
Basically,
or you were natural, huh?
I was a pretty natural closer. I think probably I was a pretty natural closer.
Yeah.
And I remember one day a gentleman came in, and he was, I remember it vividly, obviously, because it's such a key part of my life. He was about to go on holiday the following day with his wife, and he hadn't had time to buy any holiday clothing, so shorts, t-shirts, etc.
Yeah.
And he was under pressure to get some stuff by his wife, so he came in, and he just came in literally to get a few pairs of shorts and t-shirts and kind of be gone, so that he could get on with the rest of his day before traveling the next day. And I latched on to him, and he ended up buying some suits and some ties and some shirts and shoes, and actually not very many pairs of shorts and t-shirts. And he kind of got to the end, his bill was very high, and you could see he was saying to me, I don't even know how this has happened. My wife's going to kill me. I'm not even sure why I've just bought all of this stuff. He left the store, and within about a minute he came back, and he said to me, you probably shouldn't be working here. And I didn't really know how to take that. I was quite young. I was like 17. And he said, here's my business card. Please give me a call. I think you could be quite interested in what I do. I think you could quite suit what I do. So he gave me his card. I didn't really have a clue as to exactly what the nature of his business was. But it said on his card, LIFE, futures and options, trading platform, desk, whatever. And I remember giving it to the store manager and saying to him, do you know what this is? And he was a slightly older gentleman, and he said to me, yeah, you should probably give him a call. This is pretty interesting. You should probably give him a call. And so that's what I did. I gave him a call. And the next thing, I was having an interview, an office in the city. And he said
What
to
a
me,
great break. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
you know, I mean, really, Danny, what people have to go through nowadays, you know, I'm not sure what the life is like now, but I've been back to Chicago, and the trading floors are bowling alleys.
it's
They're
not here
bowling
anymore.
alleys, huh?
We don't have it there. We don't have it anymore.
Oh, okay, so that's even less than a
Yeah, we
bowling alley.
closed down
I mean,
18, 19 years ago now. So
okay, so a lot of people have to find their way on the internet now, and there's
yeah.
so much misrepresentation
Mm.
and charlatans out there, and people promising they'll sell the secret to trading. And the secret to me is hard work and perseverance. That's the secret. So, what was your first position with this trader? What were you doing? Were you on a desk taking orders from people,
No,
or?
so I was put straight on the floor as a runner.
Okay, yeah, okay, yeah,
So basically, the members' office would take the calls and the requests for trades. They would then get fed down to the floor, and then they would be passed to us, and we would run to the pits and we would relay them to
okay.
trade.
I did exactly that, and the brokers held what they call as their deck, the paper, right? It was paper in
Yeah,
those days.
yeah.
Let me ask you this: as a runner, did you notice that the floor brokers had an increased interest in orders that had STP at the end of it?
Yes.
Huh? So yeah,
We
so they knew where the stops were, and they were really interested in those because that could be liquidity if they're long and buy stops get hit for them to use that liquidity to come out of it. And let me ask you this: as a runner, did you notice that when stops were elected, you'd actually hear some type of audible roar, and at times it ended up being a turning point for an hour, for a day, or maybe longer?
Well, I don't know if it was audible roar. It was more you'd often get a howl or quite a loud
Yeah.
quite a loud shriek of laughter at times.
Fast
Because
market.
say again.
They put up on the board fast market.
No, no, not necessarily. Someone would call it often. The boards were very primitive.
Okay.
There wasn't
Yeah.
much information being carried on those boards apart from the actual price action itself.
Okay. You want to hear primitive, Danny? When I was running, they just started the IMM, which was currency futures, and they
Right.
traded them on a chalkboard.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you don't know what primitive is.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
Okay.
I guess I say primitive by today's standard.
I know. I'm just kidding around with you. So, how did you make the transition from being a clerk, a runner, a clerk? I'm sure you kind of progressed. What
Yeah.
did you end up becoming? Did someone sponsor you to have a membership? Were you a member of
Yeah,
this team?
that was kind of that was the I think that was the MO for most of the companies that were bringing runners on, that you would eventually kind of learn the trade, and there is one thing to remember: there weren't really any teachers. You kind of had to learn yourself. You were thrown in at the deep end,
Yeah.
and you kind of had to pick it up yourself, and it was often a very intimidating place and environment to be in.
Ever drown? Because I asked because we learn the most from our mistakes. Ever drown in the deep end?
Well, obviously, you had to. The only way to learn was to lose. Really, it's something that I always say, even now, with what I do now, and often. I think the only way that you learn in life is by making mistakes.
I concur. Okay,
And
so
I actually think that's just to kind of touch on something, because I was having a conversation with somebody the other day about the emotional side of trading. I think
yeah,
mastering one's emotions when trading often is born, the ability to do so is born from drowning, making those mistakes and making those losses. And if you have an inability to learn from that, then you're probably not going to make a very good trader.
yeah. Okay, so that's the most important lesson you take from the floor is that you have to lose to learn to be right.
Yeah, I think so. You know, you lived on your wits and your instinct, and often sometimes that instinct was wrong, right? So
Right.
you know, it was a matter of learning from that, I think.
Okay. All right. So tell us a little bit about where you are now, Danny, and what you're doing. You trade a fund, is that correct? You have
So
a
I
fund?
know. So I had a fund which was a commercial property fund actually in London, and we actually had a successful exit from that
Okay.
about 3 years ago, just over 3 years ago now. And so that was primarily commercial property in the city itself.
Okay. What's your business model?
We would look for, I guess, what
Now.
you would call licensed venues. So sites that had a license to sell alcohol, music, and supply music and entertainment.
Okay.
And we would acquire the sites and we would operate them to build the portfolio up. And we would often build brands within the portfolio as well.
Okay.
And then the
How
idea
about
was
now, Danny? Danny, what are you doing now? You're on Twitter. I see you tweet quite a bit. I noticed one this morning. What are you accomplishing on social media? What do you do now? What's your model?
well, I think one of the main thing I do at the moment is I work with startups, primarily in technology, and I actually mentor them, and I help them build out their business model. I help them try and find and achieve a direction of scale, and I work across a number of different environments to facilitate that. So some public sector, private sector as well. And that kind of takes up the majority of my time as I take day by day. That is the main focus of my attention.
Okay. So personally, you're trading these markets yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually saying I haven't had a chance to actually look at that many trading opportunities lately. One of the markets I do look at often from a fundamental point of view tends to be stock. So to give you an example, I was looking very recently, I shared it with a couple of friends who I think also punted it on Twitter, was YRIV on the NASDAQ. It's the Yangtze River Port and Logistics. It's a Chinese company. What was interesting about them was that
You have a chart of it?
I don't know if you can bring that up on your side, or whether
Okay.
you should bring it
All
up
right,
on
I'll
my
do
side.
it.
Oh, have you got my screen up there? Can you
Yeah,
see
I
me?
have your screen. Yeah, it's
Okay, so I opened this for you really just to kind of show you. So this company's quite
oh,
interesting.
this is it. Okay.
Yeah, Chinese company listed on the NASDAQ. Fundamentally very interesting. They had a wrongful lawsuit issued against them in December of last year, and that caused the price, as you can see,
Yeah.
basically plummet here. And it's kind of, I mean, it's really bottomed out.
Were they on the verge of BKing down there? Looks like they traded 40 cents or something.
Yeah, so they were kind of trading around about this level here is, you know, sitting around about 40 cents, somewhere in that region there, yeah.
I mean, this would be an attractive chart for me too, to be looking at probing it. Let me ask you this though, sometimes these companies, even if the chart looks good, because they're having some type of financial problem, have to dilute and put out more paper. And sometimes because institutions can't participate in a stock that's cheap, they do reverse splits. Would this have any of those risks in it?
I mean, to be honest with you, the way I look at this, I don't think there are any financial issues here. I think, as I said, I think they were issued a wrongful lawsuit, and I think that's what caused the price to plummet massively. I expect that lawsuit, or I'm looking at it, it looks likely that lawsuit is kind of in the process of being reversed to a degree. And then obviously we have this issue with the China versus US and the potential for a trade deal. And I actually think that will provide the next catalyst for this kind of recover.
Okay, what do they do?
Say that again?
What do they do?
I believe that there's some kind of trade shipping logistics company from the supply chain of Chinese goods.
Okay.
Without diving too much into, I mean, that's a very high level overview.
Okay. All right. So when you buy a stock like that's $1 or so, do you consider it like a lottery ticket? I mean, it's tough to have stops and manage risk. So your risk, when whatever you pay for it, that's what you're risking. Is that the way you approach it?
Yeah, to a degree, yeah. I don't look. I'm not sitting here, pumping, nuts of money into this, but I'm looking at it as an interesting hedge for a good move up. And for me, if the fundamentals are right on this, and there is potential for a lot of growth on that chart, then I look at it as a calculated risk, really.
Okay. So appreciate you bringing that to the table.
No, I just thought it was an interesting one to kind of highlight. It's one that I took a position in. I know a couple of friends that took a position in it as well. I shared it with them, and they looked at it, and we took a position a little while back, and it's obviously made a bit of a move up since. Okay. So we're keeping a very close eye on it, and I think it's an interesting one.
On all your charts, your used TradeView, I see nothing there. So, obviously you trade naked. Is that correct? No indicators, anything, just candlesticks?
No, I mean, I'll to be honest with you, I tend to, as I said, if I trade this kind of stuff, it's purely based on fundamentals. I'll use a very simple support resistance levels just to find an entry. And I just let it move from there. I obviously put stops in when necessary. I haven't really got a stop in place at the moment for this because I bought it at a pretty low point. So I'm just kind of monitoring it on a day-to-day basis. If I need to exit the trade, I can. Yeah, I mean, it's as I said, I haven't put a massive position into this, so it's not something that I'm kind of losing sleep over.
You have any? You're in the UK, right?
I'm in the UK, yeah.
All right, so you're there. You're on the ground. What's going to happen with Brexit?
Well, one thing I will say is that irrespective of whether we exit the EU with a no deal or a deal, I think the strength of the pound needs to be considered. I think the pound's pretty stable. I think Stilly Arms touched on that earlier. Perhaps I think he looked at it, or was it your colleague before?
Yeah,
Blake. Yeah, Blake. I think it's pretty decent. I mean, this country's economy is pretty strong, right? So irrespective of anything, I think whatever happens, the UK and the pound sterling will always be okay.
Yeah, I think it'll be okay to, maybe move back up towards 134 or so, and then I'm looking for 117.
Okay, yeah, okay. So with a margined recovery, presumably over an extension time. Yeah.
Okay. So politically, is Parliament broken?
Massively. There's a lot of division. The reason we're in the position we're in at the moment is because of the level of division that there is within Parliament. I think nobody can agree on it, and that extends down to the public as well. I think there's an element of people that want to leave with no deal.
It extends to the nation that the British spawned too over here. So very interesting that we have divided. I've never seen, I've been around for a while, a more divided, hostile environment in American politics, and you're seeing it there in the UK. Does this give you any kind of understanding about what type of era we're in? Trade wars potentially with everybody. I mean, even if we get a China deal, perhaps European automakers are next. Are you a student? I know you didn't like school, but are you a student of history and what happened in the 30s? Does it
Yeah,
seem like
of
history
course.
is rhyming, maybe not repeating, but rhyming?
I've got, listen, you always have to be observant of the past in order to better understand, potentially what the future can hold. However, I do think I agree with you with regards to the split and I guess the polarization of the US and the UK and how things must look. I must admit, I do feel that I do feel the media make a lot more of what is actually happening than actually what is happening.
Okay, that's a fair point.
From a sensationalism point of view. But look, there's no doubt about it. There's splits, and do I think everything is going to work out? Yeah, I do actually. I think everything does have a funny working out.
I love talking to an optimist. So let's be optimistic about YRIV. You're long. What's your target here, Danny? Where will you be going to the door?
I mean, I see no reason really in the long term why we can't get back into this area up here, which is, the
previous highs up there.
Previous highs, yeah. I mean, there's no reason for it not to, apart from any sort of fundamental breakdown here. And I think it looks ripe for a decent hedge, which is why I'm in it, and I believe that it can make some moves.
What kind of volume does it do on a daily basis? Do you have to make an appointment to buy it?
No, you don't have to make an appointment. There are certain platforms that are trading this. You can buy this through brokers. It's quite straightforward.
You know what, Danny? I'm so glad I reached out to you. It's great meeting you, and taking time out of your day. I know you said you have a meeting coming up here. So, besides Twitter at Danny Less, any other way that viewers that are watching us live or watch the video later can reach out and talk to you?
Sure. So, my Twitter handle is at DannyLes3. There is an email address in my profile. If anyone wants to reach out to me and chat to me via LinkedIn or even on email, if you any kind of questions or anything, that would be great. I'm always happy to engage with people.
I noticed you have that spirit, Danny. Really nice meeting you. I know you say you're not a trader, but like it or not, you're now my trading warrior brother. And here's hoping for at least a 50% retracement in YRIV, and I think you'd be pretty happy with a $7 price. So anyway, thank you so much, Danny. Good hunting, and really was an interesting story to talk to someone who was a runner like I was and learned the business from the ground up. So we're kindred spirits.
Indeed, absolutely, and it's been great to be on and speak to you. Thanks for having me, Dale.
All right, the best of everything to you and yours. Okay, buddy. Thank you, Danny. All right, thanks, everyone. Buddy. You're welcome. That's it. That's a wrap for Thursday, everyone. Remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. And we'll wrap it up. I believe we have the NFP tomorrow. So until then, good hunting. Go join Blake and the traders in their chat room, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Adios.